a brand new convertible Mustang.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was in a little boo-boo my husband was responsible for. And so we just recently got it back. And so my mobile car wash guy is also a detail inspector with regards to that stuff. So he found all of the boo-boos the shop that did the work did. So I'll be sending that nice, lovely email today, letting them know that it needs to come back for additional work.
That's right.
Was it a lot?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Oh.
So anyways, welcome. It's Monday, Chapter 7, Leadership, right? Hello to all of you out there in Facebook land. Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to going through Chapter 7. Anyone read it? How you doing? Yes? Yeah, you've already read through the entire book. You're going through it a second time.
Yes.
Is there not great value in going through the book again?
Yes, it is. Because the first time you have so much, and when you go for the second time or third time, you know, you start discovering new things.
Yes.
That the first time you didn't hear.
Yes.
Or I didn't hear.
Correct.
You know, because the first time is like a full picture, and then the second time is like you're focusing in a little detail here, and another little detail.
Yes.
So you can get more.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you listen to it or read it, and then you're gonna keep discovering, because it has to do with your emotional state at the moment that you read it.
Yes.
If you read it today and you read it tomorrow, you might find something different because you are in a different stage.
100%.
So, and then if you keep improving, and then you're gonna see other things that otherwise you wouldn't.
Yes.
So, because growing and education gives you that possibility.
Yes.
So, and that's what is inviting to everybody to keep trying to learn more.
Yeah, I would agree with you. So like 100%, I have found, I do the Keller Williams training called Bold, right? I've done it 8 times. You're all like, why do you do it 8 times? That's crazy. Right? You're a different person every single time you go back. So to read this book, this is my like 4th time, right? Going through this book. And every time that I go back in, I hear something differently, or I hear something completely that I didn't even hear the first time. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even hear that the first time. Right? You're just better, you're just stronger, and you hear it in a different way. I love when people say, oh, I already tried that and it didn't work. It didn't work then, and it might work today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the reality is, it may not work, and it may, right? And so it's all in how you implement. And if you go in with a negative mindset,
Attitude.
right? Yeah. Then success is not gonna happen. So excited. Yes, lunch is served. It's on its way. Nathan is bringing it, and he's gonna set it up right there shortly. And we have yummy Jimmy John's. So it's like, I just wanted a little better quality sandwich. So I went with Jimmy John's. So it's on its way, guys.
What's the name of this book? Because I don't know if I got that.
So it's all right up here for you. Leadership by John Maxwell, Chapter 7. We're on ladder climbing. And of course, I'm Lori Alvarez, and there's my email for you. Okay? Oh, look, there he is. Magic. He walked in with lunch. So he'll get it set up, and then you guys can go over and serve yourselves while we're working. Because this is a working lunch mastermind, right? And you can join in anytime, anywhere, pick up the book, read it. Did you get to read Chapter 7?
No.
Aim, have you read Chapter 7? Amanda, you read a little bit, said she fell asleep. Melissa?
Listen to it.
Yeah, you listened to it? What about?
Is this book only available through like Amazon, or can I actually go through Barnes & Noble and pick it up?
Yeah, you can pick it up anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. And you were not sure what book it was, correct?
No, that's
right. Okay. But you've been coming every week and following, which has been great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wrote it down now so I can look for the book.
I got to tell you, like I said, it's a fantastic book. It really speaks to me specifically. So let's dive right in and get busy. Chapter 7, ladder climbing to ladder building, the reproduction shift. If I've ever seen farther than others, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Isaac Newton. So when you reflect on your leadership career, right, have you been more of a ladder climber or a ladder builder? Anyone want to share? Yes, Patricia.
And again, it goes back to what stage and what particular situation. I have been in both ends. I've been climbing
Yes.
and being thankful that other people has helped me.
Yes.
And then once you get a different place, and then you say, you know what, other people need help.
Yeah.
The same way somebody helped me.
Yes.
So you say, okay, well, come over this way, you know? And it's so rewarding, but again, it has to be with your state of mind, because sometimes we say, well, I cannot help other people.
Right.
I barely there.
Right.
But you there.
Right.
You know, you
Right.
can give them tips how you got there, because
Yes.
sometimes those tips are important. Like,
Yeah.
okay, don't go this way because you might slide down.
Right.
So go this way.
Yes.
So doesn't mean you're perfect, but that means you achieved something and you had to share it.
Yeah. I have to say, like, I've been in real estate for 12 years, right? I came in just as the market was crashing. Stepped in, thank you, Patricia, for sharing too. Stepped into the market, and I've been busy for the last 12 years climbing that ladder, right? Making my way up that ladder, figuring out how I can do this and do it successfully. And I think in the last year, I have realized that it's no longer about how Lori can do this. It's now about Lori holding the ladder and inspiring her team and her family and the people around her, and offering mentoring and suggestions so that they can now climb the ladder and go higher than me. And boy, is that a big shift in a mindset. I just have to say, you know, you're no longer like, hey, come on, let's do this, let's do this. Now you're like stationary, right? Holding the bottom of this ladder, because this ladder is their foundation. And you're like, okay, and Lori doesn't do stationary well. I will tell you that. Like, I'm always wanting to run, right? And so you hold the bottom of this ladder. And I go, aim, go get it, right? Go get it. This is how I would do it. This is what I need you to do. This is what I think you should do, right? And that's challenging. And it's exciting to see her succeed, see Amanda succeed, see Nathan succeed, right? See Destiny succeed. It's exciting for me. And I gotta be really honest, like, it's a little heartbreaking when the reviews are now all about Amy and never say anything about Lori, right? Like, I want those reviews to say how wonderful I am, and they don't mention me anymore. Like, they don't really, are not like, oh, well, Lori did this for us. It's
and team.
Yeah.
You're the and team
I'm
now.
the and team now, right? It's Lori Alvarez and team, but I've become and team, right? I mean, and it's a truth, right? And so it reminds me that I am holding the ladder, right?
But as well, reminds you that you are building a team.
Yes.
You know?
And I have to tell you, honestly, like, for the last 3 years, our production as a real estate team has been about the same. This last year, we did $100,000 more in GCI, right? And we did a few more units more. And these last few years, I've just been thinking over it, like, why do I keep hitting the top, and why can I not push through to the next side? And last year, one of my mentors spoke to me, and he really made me realize, like, because it's not about you anymore. Now it's about everyone else, helping them to start bringing their production to a level that outstands yours, like, does better than yours. And I was like, oh gosh, that means I gotta, like, hold the ladder, right? Oh, it's big.
why is there a final destination?
That's a great question. I love that question.
The sky is the limit.
Right? It is as high as you allow yourself to believe. Right? It really is. So how does leading yourself show you are capable of leading others? How are you doing on leading yourself? Does anyone want to share how they believe they're doing with leading themselves first? I can tell you I do me poorly.
I think I'm leading myself more to making myself more accountable.
Okay.
So, I had to like step back and just say, reflect, okay, what is working and what isn't working.
Yes.
So I've been like, kind of getting myself out of comfort zones lately.
Perfect.
And so if I figure, okay, if I keep allowing myself not to see,
Yes.
then I'm just gonna keep myself in this little box and doing the same thing over and over again, being repetitive about it and expecting a different outcome.
Right.
So,
I appreciate that, right? Because if you guys aren't showing up and you're not leading yourself, right? You're not moving yourself forward, how can you reasonably expect to help someone else move up the ladder? I mean, how can you do that if you're choosing to stay stationary? How are you going to move anyone else forward?
I have to say that you have a problem that most of us have, that sometimes you don't give yourself enough credit.
Yes.
Because you're saying that you're not doing, but you are.
Yes.
But sometimes we don't give enough credit to what we've been working so hard to achieve.
I would agree.
Even if it's not what we want, but we have improved.
Yeah.
As we have hard time seeing it in ourselves. We can see it in somebody else, like, oh, how great Amy is doing, look where she started and where she's at.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have hard time acknowledging that you are doing it too.
Yeah, this morning I had to, on my fitness challenge over my life, right, this morning I did my weigh-in, right, and I sent my numbers to who I consider to be one of my fitness mentors right now. It's the new owner of our gym. And so he was like, rock solid, you've dropped a full hard 5 pounds.
Oh.
And I was like, no, I put on weight. No, I did this. No, I did that, right? Like, I just didn't even want to see that I had done that because I didn't get what I wanted, right? I didn't hit where I wanted to be. So easy to focus in on your negatives rather than acknowledging the journey that we're on, right? And the wins that we've had. So the hardest challenge of getting to the top of the ladder was getting through the crowd at the bottom. Glenn Turner. Like, I love that, right? Getting through the crowd at the bottom. Have any of you been to China? No?
No.
Okay. So I 2 years ago went to China, right? And they move in crowds, right? Everything there is like, whoo, like this. And so a friend of mine and I, we both wanted to take a picture of, I believe it was the royal throne or something like that, right? And so our tour director said, you need to move through the crowd, right? And so, of course, me being as tall as I am, I'm like twice as tall as everyone too. Okay. So I said I was going to get that picture. And so I got my camera and I held it way up here and I turned it on to take the pictures and I just scooted through the crowd, right? And let me tell you, that is hard work because they weren't letting me through. It didn't matter how big I was and how strong I was and how much I shimmied. I had to work really hard to get through the crowd, right? So I encourage you guys as you think about it and you work through your crowd. What is your crowd? What does it look like? Is it mindset? Is it friends and family? Is it personal financial situations, right? It could be many things that stop you from climbing the ladder. Many things. So here's 3 questions to separate yourself from the crowd. Number 1, what are my strengths? So who's got a great strength? Share one with me.
Listening.
Listening. You are a fantastic listener. High five, Monique. I would give you that. 100%. You're very intent, and you're very, very much engaged in the conversation. Keep it up. What are number 2? What are my opportunities? Who has opportunities out there? You all do, right? Who specifically knows right now, like, I have an opportunity to succeed? I have an opportunity to climb my ladder. And do you know them? Have you acknowledged them?
We look at ourselves every day in the mirror, so that should be well, stay right there. You know?
I love that, right? Just yourself, giving thanks to yourself. You got up and you have the opportunity to make a difference today in someone's life, right? Right? I mean, it's not even a matter of like, oh, I'm just like, who is going to send me an opportunity, right? You just said, I'm going to get up and I'm going to create my opportunity.
Yes.
I love that. Number 3, am I taking steps every day? Are you taking those steps every day? So go to page 132 to 133. Who has a book? Amanda does. Good, Amanda, read them. 132, right there.
132. So the bullet points.
Yeah, right down there where the little bullet points are, yes.
Make sure your ladder is on a firm foundation of integrity and strong character.
Fantastic.
Make sure
Continue.
your ladder is leaning against the right, building for your purpose. Never step on the people while climbing up. Don't skip any rungs of the ladder. Step back down occasionally to rest, reflect, and gain perspective. Don't step on anyone while descending either. Each time you start to climb back up, make sure you improve. Always value the people who are holding the ladder for you.
Great. So, Amanda, what are you going to commit to do out of those steps? Which one stands out to you? Or anyone here?
I think it's the whole. I'm so sorry. Well,
You're fine. I would say the second bullet point, just because I am in the process of wanting to walk in my purpose.
Yes.
So it's definitely the first question I'm asking myself when I make decisions right now.
Make sure your ladder is leaning against the right building for your purpose. Yes. That's a fantastic question to be asking. Right?
I like never step on people because
Never step on people.
in our profession in real estate, unfortunately, there's bad agents that they step on everybody just to be at top, and that give us bad reputation.
Yeah.
So we always had the opportunity to avoid that.
Yes, yeah. I would say in any business too, right? It's not just select to real estate, right? Any business, there are people out there that are not going to represent in a professional manner. And they're just going to take advantage. I spoke to a very nice person this morning, older lady, much older lady, and I can tell that she's having probably beginning signs of dementia and beginning issues with recalling things, right? And so my heart says, oh no, someone is going to take advantage of this woman, right? Obviously, she reached out to me for real estate. That's what my heart says. My heart says, oh my gosh. And honestly, all I wanted to do was get a hold of the family to make sure the family knows that she is reaching out to people so that they can be aware of what's happening, right? Because there are so many ways that you can do elderly abuse. It's a sad thing, right? So, thank you. Thank you.
I think the harder you step on people, the harder you fall.
Yeah.
And so it's just, brought this lady up and everything else. I'm kind of curious on how you finished with it.
Yeah, well, it's an ongoing journey right now. We'll see. We'll see. So, ladder holding. How high will others go with a little help? Leaders should want far more for their people than from their people, right? We want more from you than we need, right? We just want to encourage you. We want you to go further. Kevin Myers. Who's held the ladder for you all? Right? Who's held it? Ladder holding begins with a serving attitude. With a serving attitude. Ladder holding requires availability. Ladder holding attracts people who want to climb. Ladder holding is a pre-qualifier for discovering a person's potential. And ladder holding over time multiplies effectiveness. It marks a big step in your development when you come to realize that other people can help you do a better job than you can do alone. I know 100% that I cannot do what I do without the team that supports me. I just can't do it. I can't be everywhere. I have no desire to be everywhere. I don't even understand people who say, oh, I don't want to share my commission check with someone else. Oh my gosh, what are you talking about? Like, I feel so blessed to be able to drop the income that it comes into me into someone else's life so that they can further their opportunities. And then in turn, they're just my extra hands and feet, right? What a blessing that is, right? I just don't understand that when people don't see that. So who would say, who's your ladder holder? Who's holding your ladder for you? Anyone?
You.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I see so much, like that's why I wouldn't even let you join my team. She asked many years ago, right? You asked to be on my team. And what did I say?
No, you can do this better.
Yeah, you can do this. Like, you can do it. Like, I know what you really want to do, right? And I did say I would mentor, right? Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Who's holding your ladder?
Well, Kristen Gutierrez.
Ah, Kristen. Kristen, we love you. Kristen out there, we love you because I see it. That contracts class really helps you guys, right? Her mentoring, her training.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Very welcome.
Anyone else?
Well, you know, from your mind, so.
I'm holding names ladder. It's getting heavier too. There's a baby in there. I'm holding for too. I say that in love. You're making it more like responsibility. Right? What are you going to do to help others to go higher under your leadership? So who today are you guys holding the ladder for? Who today are you encouraging, mentoring, training? Right? Who?
Our children.
Yes, our children. My 4 sons. 100%. Like one of them, I text this morning, like, I haven't heard from you in 3 days. You haven't been home in 3 days. Just want to make sure you're still alive. What you been up to? Went school? And did you have school today? Right? Holding them accountable, like you said.
Yeah.
Right? Huge. Who else? Who else can you mentor today? Each and every one of you. Think in your mind, who can I hold a ladder for today? Who? Your husband. You have more experience in real estate than he does, right?
I was gonna say, as a wife, I think we all do that at some point.
Yes.
Well, we do it for each other, right?
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. 100%. Right? Most definitely. Ladder extending. How high will others go with a lot of help? How high? Key. Intentionality. Intentionally and strategically mentoring them. Right? You must strategically and intentionally mentor them, which means asking questions and asking great questions. Where do you want to be mentored? How do you want to be trained? How can I help you? Right? Because if you don't know where you're going, how can your mentor help you move forward? I would say I continuously have the conversation with Amanda right now. Like, I want you to get clear on where you want to be in 5 years. And she's like, I don't know, it's down the road. And I'm like, I don't care, I want you to figure it out. And she pushes back on it all the time, and then she goes and does it. Right? And it helps her to to see a little closer. It's not going to be exactly that, and yet I think it will be. And it'll be better than she expected.
I think
Right?
that's huge, because I just learned that I was at a seminar this weekend, and that's the number one thing I got out of it. If what you're praying for, asking for, however you word it, doesn't align with your subconscious or your purpose, you'll never get to it. So you need to know what direction you're going.
Yes.
What is your direction? What do you ultimately want to do?
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard over and over again in bold, and I hear it in different ways every single time. But the one thing I hear over and over again is, right, like a pilot doesn't just get in a plane and hit the button and just go, right? No, he puts all the coordinates in, right? He puts all of the locations or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not a pilot. But I do know that I need to get to Texas, and so I need him to get me to Texas. And I don't want him to take me here, 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 and here to get to Texas. I want to get the most direct route there. And so he has to sit down and map that out so that I can get to Texas. Well, if you don't know where you want to go and you don't map out your life, you will never get there. Because one, you don't know if you've ever gotten there because you don't know where you want to go, right? And two, the only way to get there is by mapping it out. And know that you're a living, breathing entity, and you have the right to change the direction anytime you want. So just because you mapped it this way doesn't mean you can't change direction, right? It doesn't mean that. So it's okay if you change direction. It's okay if you fail and then you go, oh, okay, let me get back up. That didn't work. Let's go this way now, right? That's okay. That's really what you want. Criteria of a good mentor. So when you're looking for a mentor or thinking about a mentor, one, ladder extenders are successful. So they must be successful, right? They must be successful. Two, ladder extenders are specialists, right? So they're specific to what they're doing. And they're going to ask you very specific questions. They're going to ask you, well, what do you want me to help you with? How do you want? And you're going to be like, oh, what, geez, back off, right? You're not going to like it. Right? Ladder extenders are mature. Ladder extenders are practiced in the art of asking great questions. And ladder extenders are humble. Which criteria do you need to give attention to develop as a mentor yourself? Anyone?
You have to keep improving yourself so you can help somebody else to do
Yes.
the same.
Yes. I would say for me, I need to ask better questions. That's what I would say I would want to work on for me. I love asking questions, and I have to step back and not go into storytelling mode, right? Because you're not going to learn from stories. You're going to learn from questions because you're going to self-discover, and you'll be like, oh yeah, right? And so that would be one that I would say for me to be a stronger mentor, I need to work more on asking questions. So if I ever go in storytelling mode with you, I give you all permission to say, ask me a question. I give you permission 100%. right? Ask me a question. And I told that to a lady the other day. She was struggling with her 19-year-old son. She was like, oh my gosh, like I can't get him to go to college. I can't get him to finish school. I can't get him to do this. I can't do that. And I said, well, are you telling him or are you asking him great questions? And I said, and every time you tell him something, instead of telling him, switch it to a question. And she was like, oh my gosh. Right? Because 19-year-olds don't want to be told anymore. They want to be asked. And I think when we're 30 and 40 and 46 like me, I don't want you to tell me anything. I want you to ask me a great question that says, oh, you're right. So when you're sitting across the table from someone that you're like, wow, this is not moving forward, change the conversation to questions rather than, right?
Right.
So in a sense you're saying is change it up so instead of telling someone something and it's coming across as condescending, just ask a question.
You know, I don't know that it's even if it comes across condescending because
Well,
that's
kids it does.
Yeah, I mean to kids it does, to whoever. Like whoever it is, they may perceive it in any way, right? The perception is up to them on how they've received it. But the opportunity for you is just to say, like, maybe you could do it this way, or have you thought about doing it like this, and allowing them to self-discover. Because as soon as you allow someone to self-discover, right, that allows them the opportunity to go, oh yeah, and they take ownership over it. At least that's what I found. Ladder building, how can I help them build their own ladder? Ladder building is all about giving another leader the permission, equipment, and empowerment to create their own ladder. So you want them to grow their ladder, rung by rung, right? Who on your team do you need to help build a ladder for? Anyone?
Well, now that we have Nolan helping us, I'd say I could help Nolan.
Yeah, we just had our my 17-year-old son has just joined the team. And so now AIM is gonna hold his ladder, right? And Nathan is gonna hold his ladder as he climbs it and figures out what his destination is in the journey, right? Because who knows, I mean, he's just right now taking the position and the opportunity with us as a part-time position because he's gonna be graduating from high school and going to college. So he's like, sure, I'll work for mom. My big brothers did, why not me? Right? And we'll see where he goes.
Can you go over, the same ladder building
Yes.
is all about giving another leader permission and
Equipment and empowerment to create their own ladder. Yes. Questions to ask before you mentor someone. Do for one what you wish you could do for many. Andy Stanley. If you haven't listened to his podcast on leadership, I highly encourage you to. Fantastic podcast. So what are qualities you are looking for in a mentor? Anyone? Do you realize mentors can come in many shapes, forms too?
Well, knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge. Fantastic. What else?
Integrity.
Integrity. Yes. What else?
successful.
Successful. Mm-hmm. That's super important to me. I need to know you did more than me. Right? I don't question like the MAPS program, Bold, that I go to. Look, she sold 100 homes a year. Until I outsell that, I don't question it. I just do it. Right? And I don't understand people who do question it. I'm like, you're not doing it yet. So do it like she does it. Right? That's how I see it. Is this person hungry to learn? How can you determine if the person is hungry? So how do you know if they're successful, Melissa? How do you know they're hungry?
how do you know they're hungry, that they want to learn? Because they always show up to learn more.
Yeah. Right? So you want your mentor to always show up,
Yeah.
right? What is this person's capacity? Which of the 7 capacities listed will help you better assess your people?
What this person, what?
What is this person's capacity? Right? Uh-huh. So what is it? What are the 7 capacities listed that will help people better assess your people? Page 142. Energy capacity, emotional capacity, thinking capacity, people capacity, creative capacity, production capacity, and leadership. Right? Those are all very specific. When you look at that and you think about that on each level, you go, wow, right? Do they have the capacity, the ability to be a little more creative? So are they taking time to think? Are they doing the downtime that they need? Number 3, are this person's values compatible with mine? Do you have the same values? So what are your values? Do you know them clearly?
Yeah.
I know my core values. Mine are family, legacy, and love. And if I do not check off every box when I am asked to participate in something, if that doesn't move my legacy forward, it doesn't move my family forward, and it doesn't align with love, I don't do it. It's a no. It's gotta align with my core values. Do you know your core values? And if you don't, take the time to figure them out. Because it makes it easy to say yes and no to projects when you know your core values. Number 4, is this individual a leader? 1 handles, 2 laboratories, 3 roadmaps, 4 routes, 5 wings, and 6 whys. If you want learners to follow directions, you only need to provide the what. If you want them to lead others and give directions, they must also have the why. Thinking about your why, right? That can be challenging. And really, it's very simple. I think when you get caught up in your why, then you make it too much. Keep it simple. I was just reading like 6 different highly successful billionaires and their whys. And I was like, oh my gosh, they were like two sentences. They were so simple. And here I am trying to come up with configure like this amazing, and I'm like, Walt Disney, read his why. Super simple, right? Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. So groundwork for becoming a ladder. So I would like you honestly to review the list and make a commitment to change your mindset about becoming a ladder builder, right? Do I develop leaders to benefit others, not just myself? Right? Do I relinquish control and give others leaders the freedom to be themselves and develop their own process? I do that really well on my team. I'm like, go figure it out. Go. I don't know. It's up to you. And sometimes they're like, ooh, I don't like that. And sometimes they're like, okay. Right? But the reality is, like, I don't know. That's why I brought you on. I want you to discover what's next. Right? I want you to do that. Am I happy for a leader I help to move on without me, or to enlist other mentors? Right? Am I willing to help other leaders build their own ladders and then genuinely root for them? I am. I love watching everyone succeed. I absolutely love and adore it, right? I'm like, yes, go get it. That's exciting. Am I willing to keep helping many leaders build their own ladders without expecting to receive any credit? Gotta be honest, that's been this last year, figuring that out. Sitting back and going, okay, I'm gonna be humble. This isn't about me anymore, right? This isn't about all of the work I put into them, all of the calls I took from them, all of the times I had to have a conversation with them. This is their moment, right? That's hard. Review the list in the book of what it takes to be a successful mentor. What areas do you need to find a mentor to help you grow stronger with? Are there any areas that any one of you are hearing right now that you're like, oh, I need to work on that area? Anyone hear anything?
Many areas.
Right? Yeah, just focus on one though. What would be the one priority? For me right now, it's just focusing on holding the ladder for stability. Just being a stable foundation for them. That right now, showing up when they need me, right? That right now is probably my one priority. Because I have so many requirements and obligations around me that it's hard to show up for someone else. You're like, it's your problem, figure it out. That's why I brought you on. I want you to do it, right? Instead, I gotta show up and I gotta be there and I gotta hold the foundation for them. And I gotta hold the bottom of the ladder. And so making that a priority, that would be one that I really need to focus on. That's my one focus right now, is just showing up. Showing up for them every day and saying, I'm holding, I'm rooting for you, I want to see you succeed. If you have not found a mentor for yourself, make a commitment to the group to find one by the next session. Who has mentors? They could be online, they could be virtual, they could be, you said Kristen's mentoring you right now.
I have a couple.
You have a couple, would you like to share any of them?
I actually have Tanya, she's from the Corona office.
Okay.
I know Kristen's helped me a little bit. Tom,
Uh-huh.
Patricia a little bit.
Yes.
Give Patricia some credit.
Fantastic.
So it's like I'm taking great minds and just I'm incorporating one thing from one and
Yes.
and it's not like I'm just listening to one mentor. It's like what works for one. Okay, I can see where this is coming from.
Yes.
Okay, then when it's crossing over to all four, it's like okay, now I'm intrigued. Now I'm listening.
Yeah. That's great.
So
I have you,
Uh-huh.
I have Robin,
Yes. You have some great mentors.
Kirsten. I
Yes.
have really good mentors.
You have some people that are just surrounding you that are really encouraging you to move forward,
Yep, I
right?
do.
And so, Melissa, share with me on this. Would you say that each one of them bring, in a different way, their own taste and flair to it,
Yes,
right?
you're the hard one.
I'm always the hard
Robin's
one.
the nice.
I gotta fix that.
Like, come on, you could do it. And then,
Thank you.
yes, no,
Thank
but
you.
that is good.
Yeah,
because
thank
you
you.
need that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And then I have Robin, you can do it, go, go, go.
She's a fantastic
And
cheerleader.
then-
I love her.
Kristen's cross that T, dot that I,
Yes.
make sure,
Yes.
so all together, it works really well.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Because I think it's important that everyone realize, your mentor can come and show up in many shapes or forms, right? They can be different. They can be, like I said, virtually online, right? I was reflecting this morning thinking, oh, who have been my mentors, right? My father, 100%. 100%. He's my hard one. Like, he's just like, babe, you didn't do that good enough, do it again. And I'm like, ah. You know, he didn't give me a break. I said, Dad, can I move in with you when I was 16? And he was like, no, you need to stay right where you're at, right? I learned that from him. Like, no, right? It's okay to say no. And there was reasoning for that, and I'm a better person for it, right? There's so many. My mom has mentored me in her own way as well, right? My husband, he's a fantastic mentor to me and how a wife should be, what his expectation of what a wife should be. We have that conversation all the time, right?
So how did your appointment went?
Oh, thanks for asking. You remember our marriage coaching appointment. Yeah, you know what? So he loved it. Yep, he absolutely loved it, and he couldn't wait to go back. I loved it, right, for me, because I personally have been through coaching, and I'm coached every week on my business coaching, right? So I showed up and I told the therapist, like, hey, you're my coach, right? Like, I don't think of you as a therapist. Think of you as my marriage coach right now. And I gave him a little background to who I am and a little background to my husband, which my husband didn't want to go, right? And when we were done, it was fantastic. We've had a great 3 weeks too, to be honest. Like, he asked the coach, like, I don't know what to ask her, right? and the coach said things like, well, why don't you just ask her, what are you dreaming about today? What were your wins for today? What were your highs? What were your lows? I don't like when he asked me that one. And all week long, every day, he has asked that question. And do you know that I can't answer it with good, great, I'm busy. I have to actually stop and be like, oh, okay, my wins today. What were my wins today? And it's helped me to reflect on the good things that have happened today, right? So it went fantastic. And I loved that he told me, he was like talking to one of his buddies at work, and they said, oh, I'm going on like divorce number 2 or whatever. And he said, oh, you should try therapy. My wife and I just did it, and it is great. And his buddy said, I already did that. It didn't work. And, right? So it's your perspective. It's the perspective that you go into.
I just wrote here, the mentor is as good as you let them to be, because
Yes.
if you don't let them or you don't listen, and then you're going to say, well, they don't know what they're doing. Well, they're telling you, but you're not doing it.
Yes.
So sometimes you're trying to hold the ladder, and they trying to go around it. Like, no, it's this way. You know, don't go around it, go this way. This is the way you need to climb,
Yeah.
right? So the mentor is going to be as good as you let them help you or not help you,
Right.
or guide you.
Right. And I'm going to 100% say that. Thank you for bringing that up, because I will say one thing here is, if you are not going to be open-minded to what your mentor is suggesting to you and be willing to implement the things that your mentor has suggested or helped you to self-discover, you're wasting their time. You're wasting your time, right? And so let it go. Just, you're not ready for it yet, and that's okay. You're just not ready.
You know, every time I come and I hear different things, and it's, you know, I've had an ugly court thing, just like it was an ugly court thing this week, and, you know, and afterwards the boyfriend's telling me, you know, you should go home and lock your doors and, you know, get some protection and this and this and this, and I said, you know, I don't have to lock the doors. And he says, well, why not? And he says, you know, I worry about you and this, and I said, okay, former military, that's besides the point. And I said, you know, I'm not going to feed the fear. And he's like, what? And I said, you got to humble. So I remember hearing you. I said, you know, I'm not going to feed the fear, which is going to breed, you know, me being paranoid and just worrying about different things and giving them power. And I said, so he says, you're not afraid? I said, please, I defended this country You know, I've had some crazy stuff happen to me in my lifetime. I said, I welcome it, you know, and I said, you know, it's how you guys go head on with it, you know what I mean? I said, and he says, well, you have a way of thinking, and I said, no, it's just, I deal with what I deal with and how it comes, you know, I said, either you are afraid of something and you have that eat up at you, and guess what? Your fear is gonna hold that ladder for someone else.
Yes.
You know, that shaky ladder.
Yeah.
You know, and you're gonna have that person. It may be your kids, your fears. They go to your loved ones.
Yes.
You know, and it's like you can use the whole thing with the ladder and get up this ladder, but I'm gonna shake it while you're going up there. So when you fall, don't worry about it. Just climb it again. I'm gonna keep shaking it and keep you not progressing up.
Right.
And that's
Right.
But
We have to choose faith over fear. Every day. We have to choose faith over fear. Every day. Right? You can choose fear and you will live in the darkness. You will be lonely. Or you can choose faith, which will put you in the light and allow for you to see the way. To see the people that are around you cheering you on, that want to mentor you. Right? Know those people, know who they are, because when you get in that fearful place, you need them. And be okay with saying, I need you. I need your help today. Right? Be okay with that. So what areas do you need to find a mentor to help you guys grow stronger? Personally, I encourage each one of you to think about it today. Really just work on it. And then line that up. Whether it's a great podcast, I recommend, if you want to build leadership skills, I recommend Andy Stanley's podcast. 100%. Oh my gosh. Of course, John Maxwell's podcast, right? 100% fantastic. Real estate oriented. There are some great real estate podcasts out there as well. I encourage you to look at leadership in a different perspective on how you are leading your clients, helping, advising, right? 100%, your business will just grow because people will feel that and they will know it. 100%. So if you've not found a mentor for yourself, make a commitment to the group to find one. I have a couple. And I think the one thing that I am looking for, me personally, is I continue to look for someone who is on a higher producing real estate team than me, so that they can help me to visualize that I can do that. And where are my holes? What am I not seeing? Because as soon as I see someone else does it and I see like, oh, this is how they did it, I am able to be like, yeah, okay, I know what I need to do now, right? And so that's me setting aside all of my fears and insecurities and being willing to reach out to them and just say, hey, could I meet with you? Can I talk with you? And if they're busy, they're busy. You just got to keep reaching out, right? Or waiting to find the one who isn't too busy for you, who is willing to share their time with you.
I tried that once, but I haven't tried it since.
Yeah, I tried once too.
I tried once.
And I gave up.
That person said no.
Yeah.
No.
And that didn't feel good, huh?
Wow, okay, okay. So then I kind of waited and asked again. Same thing. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of stopped.
Right? It doesn't feel good though, right? Like mine just didn't return my calls or texts or emails or Facebook messages, right? So I'm like, okay, that person isn't the one then.
Yeah.
Because they're either still figuring it out for themselves. There's no judgment in it, right? I have no judgment in it. Initially I did. Initially I felt hurt. Initially I felt like, oh my gosh. Now I'm like, they're just not in a position to accept me, right?
Yeah,
They're,
but say that, you know what I mean? Like, how hard is that?
I agree, Melissa, right? And I'll bet you in 2 years, they'll be responding to people like, oh, I would love to be able to, but I currently can't do it. And I think right now where they're at, they probably just are not organized enough yet, right? It's chaos. It's like, I remember when I was building my business from here to there, right? I was taking my production from here and going here. So there's about 10% more, right? It's like when you take that listing that you get, and this is in the real estate world, like you take that listing and you're like, oh my gosh, like I have 60 people who are calling me every day, and you just don't expect it, and you just don't catch all the calls, and you just don't get them all returned. Like I have grace for that now because I've been that person. I don't know where they're at in their life. And so it's not about me. They don't know me, right? And I will just remember that I will do that differently when I'm in that space. And I also know that I've taken that listing that overwhelmed me, and I was like, oh, I was not prepared. And I found all my holes and I built it up better, right? But it has stopped me too. I haven't reached out again to another agent, right? I haven't, to be completely honest, because I'm like, oh, well, if they don't have time for me, then no one has time for me. And it doesn't feel good. It feels like, ugh.
But you're right. I mean, you don't know what's going on in there.
Yeah, we don't know. Maybe they're in a car accident that day for all we know. Or, you know, a couple. I remember, I will share this one last thing and then we'll close here. And next week is chapter 8. I remember I had this one lady I was helping. She was referred to me, right? And she had said, oh, I would love for you to sell my house. And I was like, okay. And she was out of state, right? So I had no way of physically like showing up at her door and being like, hi, how are you? Right? I had no tangible way of forming a relationship except on the phone. This was like 7 years ago. And so I was like texting and calling and leaving a message. And I was like, oh my gosh, how many times do I have to do this? This lady obviously doesn't want to work with me, right? Obviously she doesn't like me. Like I said all the things that I'm sure you all have probably said. And guess what? Finally, like 3 weeks later, she contacted me. She's like, oh my gosh, I was in a car accident. And then my daughter was in a car accident. And then we had this. And then we had so many terrible things happen to them over that 3 week span. And here I am sitting there like an idiot, like, oh, but it's me. They don't like me. It wasn't me. She doesn't even know me. It was where she was in her world, right? And I was so thankful for that because that's helped me to grow, to understand where people are in their life is where they are. And where you are is where you choose to move you forward. Thank you all for showing up. I appreciate you. Next week, chapter 8.
Great.
We're finished. If you have additional questions, feel free to ask. Thank you on Facebook. Thank you on KW College Park Facebook too.